I've traveled all over this country.
Ah, yes, the old settler.
Here it is, you see?
A place to be peaceful.
It's living history. And he just loved that song.
Puget Sound, no longer a slave of ambition.
Well, it was written by Judge Francis Henry, who was, you might almost say, frontier judge in Puget Sound country.
And he wrote this and he performed it with the Olympia Choral Society in 1877. It was so popular that they did things like name a sidewheeler, a new sidewheeler vessel on Puget Sound, the Old Settler.
This song survived because it was very popular with his drinking buddies.
It's very good writing.
And somebody actually made a woodcut of the ballad, of the words. That's how it was preserved. I've traveled all over this country, prospecting, digging for gold. I've tunneled, hydraulicked, and cradled, and I have been frequently sold. For one who makes riches in mining, perceiving that hundreds grew poor, I made up my mind to try farming, the only pursuit that was sure.
So the Times Stroller was the name of the columns. They asked them, has anybody got some old regional songs that Ivor Haglund, who is a folk singer on Alki Point, that he could use to sing? A woman responded to the Times. They printed it in the Times and said, yes, Ivor, here's this old settler song. And then that's where he learned about it.
Surrounded by acres of clams.
And he had a little tiny hole in the wall aquarium that he'd open up down at Pier 54, and it was just a really kind of very small room, and he had about a dozen saltwater aquariums. And Ivor would sit beside the door
at the entrance to the aquarium singing these songs.
I've traveled all over this country, and I'll say...
So he learned about the song quite early on, in the 30s. He learned it well, and then later on it occurred to him, of course, that it was his theme song. He used it on the radio.
Around the Sound with Ivor Haglund, presented by the Fisheries Supply Company. Ivor Haglund, with his tall tales, true fish stories, and ballads, is a regular Northwest troubadour. And here we start off Around the Sound with Ivor Haglund.
I tried to get out of this country, but poverty forced me to stay. Until I became an old settler, then nothing could drive me away.
He got several radio show programs, and he was on the radio for, I don't know how many years, at least a dozen or 20, something like that.
I think of my happy condition, surrounded by acres of clams.
Ivor was the greatest self-promoter in the history of Seattle. So when he opened a restaurant on Pier 54, where it still is,
Just a block from the ferry terminal,
he called it the Acres of Clams. A very brilliant name for a restaurant.
And on his placemats, he had paper placemats when you were served dinner, and there was the woodcut, and there were all the words to the Old Settler.
Alrighty, first up is Ivor Haglund's theme song, Acres of Clams.
Well, when you're the city's greatest self-promoter,
I mean, that's more Seattle than any of us probably.
it's reasonable that some of that would transfer to the city, and the notion that it's the city's theme song.
But a lot of people who get careless in their history, they refer to it as Acres of Clams, but they're wrong.
Then that spot is on Puget Sound.
You get how it goes.
No longer the slave of ambition.
It's just a great song.
And its shams.
As I think of my happy condition, surrounded by acres of clams.